Shalom. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Rakag Wadash. Double honors to that apostles of the great millstone that taught me this truth, and as well as I will say, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua Brakatham, to the elect, which is of the 140 and 4,000, and including the 1/3. And it's your brother Laban. And I just want to jump right into what I find interesting in this article to show you brothers and a few you sisters that are watching. And the end result, hopefully, this will be an edifying lesson as well out of all of this. So anyway, let's begin by reading this as it reads. Dozens of troops suspected of advocating overthrow of U.S. government. New Pentagon extremist report says. An annual Pentagon report on extremism within ranks reveals that 78 service members were suspected of advocating for the overthrow of the U.S. government, and another 44 were suspected of engaging or supporting terrorism. The report released Thursday by the Defense Department Inspector General reveals that in the fiscal year of 23, there were 183 allegations of extremism across all branches of military. Wow. Broken down not only into efforts to overthrow the government and terrorism, but also advocating for widespread discrimination or violence to achieve political goals. Salakia. The statistics indicate the military continue to grapple with extremism following its public denunciations and a stand down across the services ordered by Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin in 2021. Furthermore, the numbers do not make it clear whether the military's approach is working. In 21, there were 270 allegations of extremist activities. In 22, that figure dropped to 146 before rebounding over the past year. The Army had most allegations in fiscal 2023, with 130 soldiers suspected of participation in extremist activity, and the Air Force suspected 29 airmen. The Navy and the Marine Corps reports 10 service members each. For the first time, the Inspector General also reported numbers of the Space Force as a separate entity from the other service, and its suspected 4 guardsmen of extremism. So if this is what you have all around the military, which is supposed to protect the government and as well as protect the people, then this is very telling that America really has no defense. In kingdoms prior, you've always had military powers, which was there to even take down another society. And if not, they would protect and serve their government instead. So again, this is very serious, man. Again, this is very telling that this society is beginning with America, which is known as Babylon the Great. It's already been destroyed before it got destroyed. All it really takes is to have divisions in a society or a kingdom, and that kingdom can no longer stand. And that's why I want to also read, of course, I have to bring the book of Mark into this, Salakia 3 and verse 25. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand but have an end. And that's the point that I'm going to read from there. Like I've mentioned, when you have your own military being divided against its government, again, what do you have? You have nothing. You don't have a system. Just like when we go back to the 1930s, when you had what was in effect back in the 30s and the 40s, and I'm really focusing on what you had in Oklahoma is what they've paid attention to. That you had thriving cities among so-called black people, as the world will call us, when in all reality we're the Israelites. And the reason why that was taken down, primarily the main reason why that was the case, because they didn't have any military power to actually support their community. You see, and that was the reason why they took that down. And I mean, there was multiple different reasons why they wanted to get rid of that thriving community in Tulsa, Oklahoma, if I'm correct. But you had a lot of Black Wall Streets around America around this time. They're just naming that one because obviously, for one, yeah, we are under the curses, and according to the curse is that we're supposed to depend on an enemy for the one of all things, and that's the higher reason why that happened. But one of the reasons why that happened is because Jake didn't have a defense. So America's looking more like a nation that has become third world nation, and as well as, again, going back to this issue that the military is up to extremism and taking down its own government. Okay. And this was already planned that, that was going to be the case because back, 7 years ago, this article comes out called Military Times. U.S. approves UN use of force to protect civilians in conflict. The U.S. has announced its support for a set of principles that give a green light for the UN peacekeeping troops and police to use force to protect civilians in armed conflicts. The U.S. Ambassador Samantha Power told a high-level UN meeting Wednesday focusing on the responsibility to protect civilians that the U.S. was proud and humbled to join 28 other countries that have pledged to abide by the 18 pledges. UN peacekeepers from these 29 countries are now required to act in case where civilians are in danger. Yeah, so what's the point of this? What's the point of the U.S. having peacekeepers? Because eventually the American military is not going to be in use. There's going to be problems, as I've just showed you in this article over here. And they knew this was going to come down a pipe because eventually, the powers that be, as well as what your politicians follow, of course, they're going to be corrupt enough to the point where people that work in all different various branches of government, whether you're a police officer, whether you're in the military, they're not going to be, supporting of their jobs at all because how corrupt things are and how, there's so many reasons why this is the case. And even as of right now, you got what you had. I think it was in a particular state, but I remember the apostles was bringing it out, or it could have been a brother that I was watching. And, an article was read about how a lot of the police force are withdrawn from their jobs. All right. And so there you have it. If you don't have any police and you don't have the military that's willing to correspond with the country, then something's got to give. It's like down in America right now, you have a lot of Moabites that are being sent to America to find their way in key areas in the States. And they're all men. They're all the right kind of age, and they're all men of a reasonable age, and they're the 20s and as well as their 30s. And where's their wife and children at? As well as I was watching Redacted, and forgot the guy's name, man, that usually, shares the news. Him and his wife does the news, but I forget. I think his name is Clayton. Clayton was bringing that out. Like, okay, if this is a true migration crises, then shouldn't we see women and children as well, right along with the men? But we don't see this. What we see is a bunch of men that's like at the right kind of age to get involved in the military, the UN military, that is, because Just like how you have in poor countries, you always had this, especially in certain places like certain parts of Africa, whether it's East Africa or West Africa. You have these peacekeeping soldiers, and usually these peacekeeping soldiers are of a different nationality. So the same is going to have to be had in America, because America is going to be to nothing, as well as the powers that be have already planned to happen. Right, it's already been in the books, and they're going to have to need the military power that they're going to need. And it can't come from their own country, because obviously these are the issues that you have right here, where you have the military, or those that are supposed to be in the military of America, which is supposed to support the American system. They're up to no good, and they're looking to do the quite contrary. All right. So again, this is why you have the migrant situation in America and other places. So what I want to read is this as well, is the book of Proverbs. Let me see what I can do. No, let's get Second Ezra's 15, right? Let's get Second Ezra's 15, and let's read verse 14. So this reads, in verse 12, it says this, right? Let's begin by reading verse 10. Behold, my people is led as the flock to the slaughter, and I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt. But I will bring them with a mighty hand and stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and I will destroy all of the land thereof. And Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague, and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. Exactly. As well as you had in ancient Egypt, you had a lot of miracles that were being displayed, and the Lord was using Moses to display all of those miracles against the Pharaoh, as you can read in the book of Exodus. So what the Lord is going to do in modern day Egypt, which is America, which is the land of our captivity, the mainland of our captivity, and as well as we're in captivity all over the place, but this is the main place, which is going to be the place of our salvation, and as well as it was and is the land of our captivity. All right. So in this land, the Lord is going to deliver us out of. That's why it reads, I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and I will destroy all of the land thereof. So now let's get to the point as to what's going to happen in modern Egypt, which is America today. As this reads, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. And in this case, being that I'm speaking about what I'm talking about, what you're going to have is you're going to have seditions. As verse 16 tells you, you're going to have seditions among nations within America, and as well as you're going to have class wars and race wars. So you're going to need some kind of military power to take care of all of that. And as well as what is going to happen is the fact that these devils from the very top, they want chaos. As the model goes, you can go on the website, it's on Google, but the term auto app KO is an important model to the 33rd degree. Okay, and so this is what they planning on doing to get this new world order running, and in that staging things just so that they can put down, to invoke some kind of legislation and to bring that to the forefront. Just like how we had it during the time of when the Twin Towers fell down and the likes, there was a reason behind that. As well as we know how these devils operate, we know that these devils, they stage things to happen because it's in the power of their hand to do it. And in that, they have reasonings to bring forth laws and legislation to life, and they can inactivate these legislations and laws later on. So when we're talking about the end of the world scenario, we understand that Esau is going to use a tactic, and I have the tactic over here called the Hegelian dialectic. And just like I've mentioned, to manufacture some kind of psychological operation and then bring in the solution. And that is the tactic that they're going to use. So in that, again, they're going to what? Have the peacekeeping troops. And guess what? They're not going to keep the peace. They're going to basically bring the wrath that Esau wants them to bring. Because it's already written in Bible prophecy that the devil, he's going to be the one to come down having great wrath. In this case, the physical counterpart of the devil, which is the so-called white man, primarily the JOOs at the very top. Okay, so I want to read this now. This is on Proverbs 29 and verse 8. Scornful men bring a city into a snare, but wise men turn away wrath. And the reason why Esau wants to turn this city into a snare, because they have agendas. And what is their agenda? Is to have everybody under full control in this new world order. And the best way that they can do that is to unify everybody as one, do away with the idea of nations, do away with the idea of genders, because all of these things are going to bring division. And it's much more easier to control and to govern the people when everyone's one together, rather than being there and everywhere and being divided. All right. So they're going to create chaos as they've been doing so that they can get towards their agenda. And so this is what they're going to do, because the thing of it is, as well as King Charles even said, I want to just play what he was saying before I was bringing this out last week when I was out with the brothers. And I want to actually play this video so you can actually hear what he's saying. But I don't think it's this video. It's on Twitter. It's on Twitter X right here. So really, I don't have to play the video. What I can do is read what he said over here, because it's written here. So this reads: the green recovery represents an unprecedented opportunity to rethink and to reset the ways in which we live. We need a shift in our model that places the world's transition to net zero at heart of how we operate. Right. So when you read between the lines, what he's basically saying is that, and even in this video, he even mentioned that we're at the last hour. The last hour for what? What he's really telling these people to do is to speed up the process of changing the way the world works. As it says here, we need a shift in our model. What model is he talking about? The way the world is currently modeled. And so they want to transition the world to a digital setting, just like I've mentioned, in the world where you have no rights, you have no free will, you have no freedom, period. Okay? You're only going to be but obliged to do exactly what you're told to do. And if you do A, B, and C and what they tell you to do, then guess what? Will increase your score, because all you're going to be is nothing more than a social credit score. You're going to be nothing more than numbers itself. And you're just going to be a slave under them. And as well as you, Jake, you better believe you me, how they going to deal with so-called black folks. All right. And although, like I've mentioned at the camp, although he's telling the people something, the mass majority of the people, as it looks, but really he's really speaking to the elite that he surrounds, that he tells what to do. There's powers that tell other men what to do. And we know this. And he's one of those guys. And as well as, I remember some time ago, this is the same individual that Evelyn Rothschild pointed to him like he was a child to. So now you got to think to yourself, not to go off topic a little bit, you got to think to yourself, is he really the real king of England? Or is that a facade? So yeah, man, getting back to the point, let's even read Ezekiel 35. Let's read verse 6, which is the point. Therefore, as I live, save the Lord, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Say, if thou hast not hated blood, and even blood shall pursue thee. So the blood that they've been shedding, and as well as the blood that they're going to shed in the future, as they believe that this is going to forward in their world, new world order, I'm going to say. But in that regard, there's going to be a backlash to that. And let's read the backlash, shall we? This is verse 7. And thus will I make Mount Seir. Who's Mount Seir? Mount Seir represents the entire Caucasian race, and even including those that call themselves the JOOs. And cut off from it him that passeth out and him that returneth. And I will fill his mountains with his slain men in thy hills, and in thy valleys and in all of thy rivers shall they fall that are slain with the sword. And if you want to further read about the blood sacrifice, because there is going to be a blood sacrifice, all right? And the blood sacrifice is not going to benefit to the sons of the wicked, but rather to the sons of the righteous. Because yes, there is going to be a blood sacrifice for a better and greater world, which the Lord is going to bestow upon the face of the earth, rather than some new world order that they have in mind, which will not happen. Verse 9, and I will make thee a perpetual desolation, and thy city shall not return, and ye shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh. Okay, so it's already written in the book of life that Esau is going to react and respond with violence and wrath, but with that same energy, that same is going to return on his pate. So there's no wrath and destruction which is going to make the new world as they have in mind. No, the wrath and destruction is going to bring in the official world for the saints. And they're going to be into slavery, which we're going to put them into slavery. Excuse me. That's where they're going. All right. And all of the magic and all of the sorcery and the witchcraft is not going to prevent their judgment. Let's even go forward and let's read this over here. Verse 7. And thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever, and so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, and neither didst remember the latter end of it. And therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am and none else besides me, I shall not sit as a widow, and neither shall I know the loss of children. Verse 9, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment, one day the loss of children and widowhood, and they shall come upon thee in their perfection for the multitude of thy sorceries and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. In thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am none else besides me. And this is the thinking of the Edomites, the elite of them, which have ruled America and as well as the Western world in general. But what they don't understand is that the angels are beholding every place. As it is also written in the Apocrypha, that the eyes of the Lord are 10 times brighter than the sun. So you can't hide from the Lord. You can't hide the rights and the wrongs that you do from the Lord. So all of the wrongs that these devils have done will be repaid. They're going to have to face these judgments for the wrongs that they have done. Okay, and all those that do wickedly. So there's no getting no scot-free. There's no ride into the sunset. Oh, yeah, the Lord didn't see that. No, the Lord sees everything. And those things is what they're going to pay for. Therefore shall evils come upon thee, and thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. And trouble shall fall upon thee, and thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. So we know that according to Bible prophecy, once again, another scripture that I'm reading speaks about the downfall of the nation of Edom. So there's a plethora of precepts that I can show you and read to you, which speaks about the downfall of this system, the downfall of this man. So why do these devils think that they can override what's already written in the book of life to happen? They can't do it. Now, in the back of their mind, they know that that's not possible to do, but there's also a part of them that wants to believe in this, that under the guise of the spiritual demon Satan, we can override and overcome all of the all of the mischiefs that the Lord has prepared for them. But that's not going to be the case at all. Because they have their priests, man. But guess what? We have priests on our side as well. You have the priest on their side, which is the left hand, and you have the right hand priest. So we're all priests. And one thing about priests and prophets, they're able to see things that the common person doesn't see. So as a priest myself, on the right hand side, I can very well clearly see what these realities going to turn into. And it's not going to be what they think it's going to be. The game of life is already rigged. So whatever they do, all they're going to wind up doing is moving closer and closer towards the inevitable. Because the book of life explains what's going to happen in the last days of it. And we just read Ezekiel 35. We also read Isaiah 47, Proverbs 29, and the likes, which explains the scornful men that control this system, which will lay its own city or their own city into a snare, just so that they can revive a world order to where they can have full control of everybody, because they're not happy about how the world's going currently, with people finding out different information, whistleblowers coming out of the woodworks and explaining what's really going on behind the scenes. So they're losing their grip, and their thing is they gotta get their grip back. But they're not gonna get their grip back, unfortunately, because that's even been written that they're gonna be in a straitened situation in the book of Job. Now, I'm not going to read that particular verse, but I'm going to read this right here, right? Because we know that this devil is going to move having great wrath, according to the book of Revelation 12 and 12. And a lot of blood is going to be shed out of that. But guess what's going to happen? Once again, let's read this. For wrath killeth the foolish man, and envy slayeth the silly one. Verse 3, I have seen the foolish taken root, but suddenly I cursed his habitation. And that's going to be the end result of the physical counterparts of the spiritual demon Satan, is that they are going to result to wrath, and the wrath is going to, their own wrath is going to bring them down. And eventually their habitation is going to be cursed, because when they're under us, they're going to suffer the great deals of curses, which is written in this book. As it is written in the book of Isaiah 47, I believe is in the same chapter over here. And it mentions that, I think it's Jeremiah. It mentions about the cup. Yeah, it's 49. Jeremiah 49. There you go. That's it. Yeah, so let's begin by reading verse 12. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken, as we did. And art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished? No. As it is written that would the Lord acquit the wicked? No, he's not going to acquit the wicked. Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. For I have sworn by myself, saith the Lord Yahweh, that Basra shall become a desolation, a reproach, a waste, and a curse, and all of the cities thereof shall be a perpetual waste. So that's the purpose of the Lord. As it is written, there be many devices in a man's heart, but the counsel, the purposes of the Lord shall stand. We got constant evidence, and the evidence is the visions that they've received, the prophets, to show that Esau will be destroyed, and there's not going to be no fourth industrial revolution. What it's going to be is the fact that they're going to move with great wrath, and in that great wrath, they're going to cause many to receive the mark in their right hands and their forehead. And that's how they're going to do it. And then once they've reached that far, then the Lord is going to take them out, and this is what's going to follow thereafter. They're going to be cursed under us, and they're going to be serving slavery under us. Okay, and that's the reason why we we look forward to seeing this devil move closer and closer towards their downfall. It might affect us. Some of the things that these devils do, it affects us. Yes, it does. But it doesn't affect us to the point where we're losing our minds and we're losing faith. No, this actually makes us feel good when we start to read articles in regards to bad news, because it lets us know that the prophecies are speaking. And when the prophecies speak louder and louder, it gets us more excited. Job 5 and verse 3 once again. I have seen the foolish taking root, but suddenly I curse his habitation. So these devils, they've taken root and they've been at the very top for quite a bit of time. And now they're at the ending of their little season, according to the book of Revelation, the 20th chapter. And after the end of that season, they're going to go down. They're going to go to the pit. So there you go. Let's read some more. This is Job 33 and verse 15. In a dream and a vision and of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men and the slumberings upon the bed, then he opened up the ears of men and sealeth their instruction. It goes back to what I was saying about how the Lord is in everything and his purposes are going to stand. Again, like it reads in the book of Proverbs 19, that there be many thoughts in a man's heart, but the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand. Why? Because the Lord implants instructions before you even get up out of your bed to perform these instructions. When you're in a theta state, that's when the Lord puts things in your head and you're going to do A, B, and C for that whole entire day. All right. So again, these devils ain't getting away from what the Lord has in store, as they want to believe that they are. They're not on that kind of level. They may think they are because they have a God complex and they're bugged out, as it is written that they are deceived by their own kind of pride that they have, which is in the book of Obadiah, the 1st chapter. You know, thy pride hath deceived thee, although thou dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, and thy habitation is high. Who saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? So that's the mentality of these people. They think that can't no one put a stop to what they're doing. They're an unstoppable force, not to be reckoned with. But there's an actual unstoppable force that they're going to have to visit one day. And that literal unstoppable force is going to show that they're just mere mortals and that they can be stopped. You know what I'm saying? So this is what we are going to witness to. It's not a matter of if or we're not sure. This is a matter of reality. Okay, like the saying goes, reality is stranger than fiction. Oh, yes. And we're going to see this, man. Yahweh Shai makes a second return. He's going to show that these men are just mere mortals and that they can be stopped. Herod, as the Lord gave them the instructions of what they're going to do without them even realizing it. And in that, the Lord is going to put a stop to all of that. When he makes a second return, that's going to be the end of the evil or the wicked ones performing their ideas. That's going to be the end of all of that when he makes a second return. And then the beginning of Jacob's rulership is going to be in the midst. All right. That's going to come after. Jacob's rulership is going to therefore come after. And the saints will possess the kingdom forever and ever. And we're not going to have to plan anything. Everything's already going to be planned out for the saints. That's the difference. Okay, so this is why we want these devils to do what they got to do. Because I tell you the truth, man, from where I stand, I'm starting to hate this existence very much so, man. It's starting to get real irritating now. You know, and it's to the point where, I mean, I don't give two shits with what goes on in this world. And I mean, I'm looking forward to it. And I say that confidently because I know that in the name of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai, as I'm confident that he's going to guide and he's going to protect me, man. Like, I was born here on this earth. I had no idea what I was going to endure. And if I did endure things in this world, whatever it was, the Lord always protected me. You know, whatever wrong situation that I found myself in this lifetime, somehow, some way, the Lord always took care of me. So why wouldn't the Lord not take care of me at the very end? Okay. And I know many brothers share the same sentiment because we all have lived and experienced things and going through, troubles that we've endured, and the Lord took care of that for us. Okay, so again, you got to have the mindset that we can trust in the Lord, and at the very end, he's going to take care of us. So I have a great deal of confidence in that, and that's why I'm like, I don't really give a shit really what these people got to do. All I'm saying is we want these devils to do what they got to do so that we can move forward. Because we, as far as I know, we got places to go and people to see, man, and different experiences is to experience rather than this bullshit life that we live in anyway. Yeah, man. So anyway, with that, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and the Son, Yahweh Bashim Shah Bashim Rakah Hakwadash. And with that, I'm done. Shalom.